DeAndre, you speak a great deal about validating the voices of the student and the teaching population. But what about parents and general public?
So that's a really good point. My campaign is surrounded on student and teacher voice, but in there I do talk about how I want to have more of a community input, and that involves parents. I feel like a lot of times our parents do get the short straw of the bunch, and they do feel like they're kind of pushed aside and not used. And the only reason why I keep harping about students and teachers is because that's something that I'm passionate about, and that's something that I have been working with for the last year and a half. But I do want to see more of a community input and have parents come out to things. And if I was to be elected as a school board member, I wouldn't mind having parents come to the teacher advisory council meeting and student advisory council meeting. I think that's a really great opportunity for the parent to be able to see what's going on in a more intimate level. Like I said previously, I feel like a lot of times there's just a disconnect. And one of the things that I want to do as a school board member is I want to bring connection back. I want to reconnect with parents and reconnect with students and be able to, kumbaya together, I think it's time for something like that to happen in our district, because to me, I feel it's divided at times. I feel like you got Harrison on this side and Scootaway on this side, and it doesn't have to be that way, but that's just something that happens over a few years, and I want to be able to see if we can bring everyone together and sing Kumbaya together. So that's pretty much all I have for that question.
Do I get an opportunity?
You do. I'll ask the question again. Steve, how would you validate parents and the general public in ensuring that they have the information they're needing as well?
This is a 1 minute? Three.
No.
Take three.
I have been validating parents, students, and teachers for the last 45 years. And if anyone says, am I going to get tired of it? Don't think so. That's my life. My life has been committed to students first, and then the parents and the teachers. And I talk to people day in and day out about that. As DeAndre, I appreciate his passion. Mine has been almost a half century, and it continues. We have, in addition to, I'm sorry, repeat the question again?
DeAndre spoke a great deal about validating the voices of the student and teaching population, but what about parents and general public?
Okay.
Thank you. I think I have a pretty good feel for the general public. I reach out to them, I take calls, I go to forums. Now, in addition to that, I have made it a point, the superintendent has 3 different groups he meets with. As DeAndre alluded to, the student leadership group, which I meet with as many times. I've been, I think, 3 times this year, listen to their input, and then they usually give me an opportunity to ask. When DeAndre was on the student leadership group too, I think I went several times, not always, but whenever I could, more than once. I've been 3 or 4 times this year, also to the parent advisory board, and also to the teacher advisory board. I went to PEF and spent, both Ms. Kritza Mosley Jones and I spent a whole evening on April 24th with a group of interested teachers. And I work with HCEA, the local teachers union. But also, I go out in the community day in and day out. Like I say, I've lived in this community most of my life. I still live there. And I am in the community all the time. So I try to talk to people in the grocery store. I talk to them at the churches. And I do preaching in inner city church. But I attend one here when I'm not. So when I'm not down there preaching. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to connect with a lot of people. I think with 45 years in education, I have learned how to deal with parents and with other teachers and with students. And I don't like dealing with students. I still work part-time at an alternative school in Georgia. And I have a very diverse population that I work with. I have African Americans and Caucasians. In one class, I have 3 young men and 1 young lady wearing ankle bracelets. And so they can be a challenge. And I know how to deal with young people, and I know how to get through to them and meet the standards. But I also know how to deal with their parents and try to encourage them. And I feel like I've done that successfully for 45 years and want to continue. I had, quite often, I had a boy several years ago that was going to be a lineman in Georgia. He he was a great big kid, and he would cheat on his quizzes, and he would get the note from someone else. So I changed the U.S. history questions, and he said, "Coach Highlander, I think you made a mistake. I know I got all these right." Well, his buddy had told him what the questions were. Well, I rearranged the questions, and so he said, "I said, no, I got them all right. You mean?" I said, "Young man, you think Martha Washington was the first president?" He said, "Oh." So I talked the parent into getting him into an after-school study group that he was successful at the University of Georgia.
This is just food for thought. I don't want to argue, but when will it ever be time for the young population to start taking those leaderships? You know, I hear you said that you've been doing this for 45 years, but I just want to know, when do you think it's time? And I've told you this before, it is my passion, and it is something I'm passionate about, but when is it time for us to be able to take on that torch of passion as well? And like I said, when we talked before, do you want me to just wait until you were ready and then say, okay, you can take it now? Just food for thought.
Is that a rhetorical question, or does he want me to answer it?
No, seriously, food for thought. Like, yeah.
Sounds like it was just a statement.
It's a rhetorical
I
question.
believe so.
Okay.